Hey guys, Toy Kate here for another Arcade1Up review, and this time it's not an upright cabinet, but instead we have Attack from Mars Pinball. This is probably the most anticipated pinball of the three that was announced in 2020, and certainly one that I had to buy and add to my collection. Does it live up to all the hype? Does it feel like a real pinball like Arcade1Up has claimed? Let's find out. Arcade1Up and Zen Studio first collaboration at an at-home use digital pinball arcade machine, Attack from Mars. This comes with 10 Bally Williams titles, which consist of Attack from Mars, Fishtails, The Getaway High Speed 2, Junkyard, Medieval Madness, White Waters, Red and Ted's Roadshow, Hurricane, Tales of the Arabian Nights, and No Good Goofers. These are all amazing mechanical pinball titles from Bally Williams and does not need any introduction. His cab is jam-packed with all the bells and whistles such as haptic feedback, solenoids, accelerometers, a second LCD screen to mimic a DMD, adjustable legs, an analog plunger, and an ability to lift the playfield. The success of Arcade1Up along with Zen Studio is a match made in heaven for digital pinball. Two notable missing features is Wi-Fi capability, which means there is no online leaderboard, and ways to purchase additional games. Let's talk about the packaging and assembling. Over the years, Arcade1Up has continued to improve the packaging, and this is no different. All parts were packaged with protection in mind. The machine in the box comes in three parts: the main playfield body, an unassembled back box, and four legs. The back box itself is unassembled, which is different from the offerings from Toy Shock and That Game, where the back box is pre-built. This is not a big deal as the assembling process is quite straightforward with the usual pegs, screws and mounts found in the 3/4 upright machines. Putting this together took about 30 to 40 minutes all up, depending on how comfortable and careful you are with building these. The building process went smoothly with only one minor issue. 3 of the 4 legs weren't as easily to bolt on through the thread and required a bit of force to lock in the screws, most likely due to a misalignment of the holes. As you can see, only 1 of the 4 legs was flush against the base of the unit. This resulted in a wobbly unit once all 4 legs were locked in. No big deal as these have adjustable legs to allow leveling. The experience in building this unit was a huge pleasure because the finish of each of the 3 components was exceptional, and seeing all this come together was a very satisfying experience. Without no doubt, the physical unit is beautiful. This is the best looking product that Arcade1Up has ever delivered. The unit aesthetics itself is near perfect. The artwork is so vibrant and really recreates the original artwork found on the real mechanical pinball. Though it should be noted that the artwork on the side of the back box does not look as sharp as the main unit. Due to the amazing artwork, the unit does pop out in your games room and really makes you look twice at the unit to admire its beauty. In addition, I like how they left out the Arcade1Up and Zen Studio branding to keep it true to the original. The front of the unit has a fold coin door, which has the power button, a volume button, and 2 additional buttons for menu settings and table guide. It should be noted that the volume button when engaged does not provide any volume indication on screen, which is an obvious omission. And to the left of the coin door, you'll find an analog plunger along with a secondary launch button below it. The plunger itself, along with the chrome surrounding, is a perfect replica of ones found in mechanical pinballs. And such small details like these really adds to the experience. The plunger utilizes Hall effect technology to allow users to decide the intensity to launch a ball, especially for skill shots. It should be noted that there is a dead zone where the plunger does not respond anymore. Below the plunger is the launch button, and this button is probably the 3rd most used button on the unit, but it's not perfectly placed. I actually had trouble locating the launch button during my first boot up. Yes, I didn't read the manual carefully, as I thought the buttons would be more intuitively placed. The button is hidden from your sight due to the plunger, but after a few games, you get used to it. I did notice a bug in the software after a few days play where the plunger will not work on games that are designed not for the plunger. The plunger is designed to work for all games, so not sure what happened here, but there's always a secondary launch button anyway. This was easily resolved by doing a reset to all settings, but I have not managed to replicate this problem again. The unit has a plexiglass protector on top of the playfield. Marry that up with a recessed 24-inch screen below, it does kind of give you that depth feel to it. This is definitely a smart move by Arcade1Up. Recessing the monitor a few inches down makes a huge difference in hiding how small the 24-inch screen is. On either side of the cabinet you'll find the flipper buttons, but the most obvious absence is the nudge button as a feature that you'll find on most competitors. What you'll notice surrounding the flipper button is a protective film, which is a common mod that mechanical pinball owners do to protect the artwork. And it's the small touches like this really adds to the experience, and it really shows that Arcade1Up and Zen Studio is doing all they can to make it feel like a real pinball machine. Up top we have a beautiful Attack from Mars backglass artwork. The artwork is cropped from the original artwork, so it allows it to fit into the smaller dimension, but doesn't take anything away from the art. Included in the back box we have a 7.5-inch DMD with only about 3/4 of the screen utilised. Not a big deal, as it does the job well. On either side of the DMD we have two 3-inch speakers, which has more than enough punch to hear through your house at the highest setting, which is a surprise when compared to the existing arcade offerings.
Return to battle, soldier!
One thing this unit doesn't lack is chrome finish. There is chrome throughout the machine, and it's a welcoming addition. There's chrome on the back box, chrome on the side rail, chrome on the lockdown bar, to chrome on the legs. It's just amazing. The chrome finish really gives it the premium look and feel, and it's probably one of the best features of this cab, so kudos to Arcade1Up and Zen Studio in doing this. So what's inside the cab? The back box holds a PCB, which draws powers from the cables provided from the main unit, in addition to the HDMI cable to connect the screen to the backboard. There's an input for the speakers and an input for the LED panels that lights up the back glass artwork. Very simple and clean. As this unit offers haptic feedback, what you find inside the main unit is 4 solenoids, placed on either side for the knocking effects for the flippers, and 2 in the middle of the unit for when the balls hit the bumpers. The idea behind this is to mimic a real pinball feel when an in-game event happens. I'm sad to say the feedback is very minimal and adds little to the experience. It was not the immersive experience I was expecting and found it a little underwhelming, and after a few days play, the knocking sound became annoying and was actually more pleasant to play with the solenoids off. It's a cool feature on paper, but in reality you wouldn't notice it unless you've been told. My wife also played this without any knowledge of the technology, and when I asked, she simply said, "What feedback?" This machine also includes a built-in accelerometer to allow you to nudge the machine to push the ball from being drained to simulate what will happen in real pinball. Nudging is a very important element in pinball, which involves moving the machine left or right. It's an unwritten technique in the rules to save balls or score more points. And again, I'm sad to say, this is also a miss in the product. I don't know the in and outs of accelerometers, but if it's to mimic a real life nudge in real pinball, there's just too much delay and force required to trigger this. The timing to nudge a ball in real pinball is very unforgiving. You need to act quick, but the timing required for this unit has to be premeditated in advance, because the time you nudge it, the input is delayed and the event has already passed. Not to mention, the amount of force required seems a bit ridiculous and may cause more damage over time to the cabinet than intended, because at the end of the day, this is an at-home use machine and not a commercial grade where nudging and shaking is required for the lifetime. I guess the test of time will tell. The interface is very easy to use, utilizing the flippers on either side to navigate and the launch button to input the selection. The menu setting allows the user to customize the volume of the music, special effects, and physics independently from one another. The physics sound simulates sounds that you would expect to hear in a mechanical pinball, something I didn't expect, and here's a sample. Other settings that are configurable include video settings such as board trails, pop-up scores, plunger configuration, default reset, and lastly the ability to turn off solenoids for haptic feedback if you wish to play quietly at night without disturbing anyone in the household. Starting a game is just a matter of scrolling to the title you want with the flipper and pressing the secondary launch button. Each game has an option for 1 to 4 players, and each player has a different colored text on the back box DMD, which is really nice to see visually to distinguish whose turn it is. One annoying quirk in the system is the high score. I've been unable to confirm if the high scores are saved or retained after the system is powered off, as the default high scores are annoyingly too high. Play, there is an option to pause the game, and when you resume the game, there is a 3-second countdown. The 24-inch looks to do a great job to a certain point. What I mean by that is that upon starting the machine to the game selection, the screen is very vibrant, and that's where it ends. As soon as the game starts, the quality drops dramatically, and that's when reality hits. All 10 tables on this machine suffers from a dull, blurry playfield. It does look washed out, and there is no way of hiding this. In an age where we are now starting to see 4K slowly become the norm, and 1080p being the standard, there is no place for 720p, especially when all competitors in this niche is doing 1080p. The casual gamer will easily spot this, as 1080p is pretty much seen everywhere you look. The screen itself is capable of outputting 1080p, and they are sacrificing a lot of graphic quality to get the pinball tables to run at an optimal level. And we can suspect that this is due to hardware limitation in order to bring it to the $500–600 price point. This will be the talking point of this product and probably the deciding factor for many watching this. When comparing this with other platforms such as PC, you will notice the difference, so be prepared to see edgy graphics, unclear text on goals you need to perform. The 10 tables included does not need any introduction. With the exception of Hurricane, all the tables are in the top 100 of all-time greats in pinball, with Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars in the top 5. How does it hold up in the 3/4 scale version? For those who own a mechanical pinball or regularly plays one, don't have your expectations set too high. Unfortunately, I fall into this category, and upon my first boot in the first 10 games, gameplay is not as smooth as I expected. There is a slight delay in flipper response. This flipper lag is not as bad as what I reported in the Toy Shock version 1 review, but it is there. Roadshow and Attack from Mars is close to lag free, but does require slight timing adjustments. After playing a couple of hours, my brain naturally adjusts to the timings required. Overall, the gameplay was fun on 9 out of the 10 tables created by Zen Studios, but it's not as smooth as other platforms. White Water is the only table that is near unplayable. There is noticeable lag during the gameplay where the ball lacks smoothness and the graphics on the ball kind of tears when going down the playfield, which really puts you off, and the flipper lag is more noticeable here. I find it hard to believe that QA didn't pick this up and let it get released. This should be an easy fix through the mini USB update, but at its current state you're essentially getting 9 tables instead of 10. For the casual gamer, this won't be an issue as you won't know or experience any better. As a point of reference, my wife didn't notice flipper lag in most games, and she is not even a fan of arcade pinballs and doesn't regularly play. I can't speak for those with customized VPN as I don't own or built one. My previous experience with digital pinball, other than Toy Shock Haunted House, is the Switch, and on the Switch playing Pinball FX is a lot smoother and lag free. I'll be lying if I said I'm overly happy with the product. I did come with high expectation as Arcade1Up did promote this hard, quoting that they are closing the gap between mechanical pinball and digital pinball, and this will give you an illusion that you're playing a real pinball. Did they deliver on that? Not quite. Did it hit it out of the park? No. Attack from Mars pinball was always going to be a tough sell due to its AAA mechanical pinball background. The fans of these Bally William titles was going to be more critical than the fans of Marvel and Star Wars pinball, as those games are digitally based in comparison to titles found here, which are mechanical pinballs. This is a decent first attempt of a digital pinball by Arcade1Up and Zen Studios, but falls short on the hype generated. Haptic feedback from the solenoids and accelerometers add little to the experience, and in fact, I'll be happy to trade these two features in for a bigger screen and tables running at optimal 1080p. In my opinion, this could be a situation where Arcade1Up and Zen Studios try to do too much and could have focused on delivering a better visual experience with 1080p, with Wi-Fi and leaderboards over secondary features such as solenoids and accelerometers. Future versions where development is more mature would have suited for these type of features. Sometimes it's better to get the basic right, and the basics such as gameplay experience suffers visually where it's evident here. There you have it guys. Coming from an owner of mechanical pinball who has owned multiple pinballs, I was disappointed, but after a few days of gameplay I've learned to accept it for what it is based on what I paid, and I did enjoy playing it despite its shortcoming visually. For a casual gamer, which is Arcade1Up's target consumer group, I think you won't be disappointed with the overall experience for the price point of a retail product. A customized virtual pinball machine will cost you a lot more and will require a lot of effort to build. Would I recommend it? If you're a casual gamer and not a pinball collector like myself, I would say yes. Just be wary of the 720p resolution and the lack of clarity and contrast on the playfield. The gameplay of these great titles are enjoyable, and it's a good way to expose yourself to these amazing classic titles, and the physical unit itself is a work of art that will make your gamer room shine. And for those who are like me and want to play these classic titles on the intended format of a pinball machine, you can't overlook the 24-inch screen they decided to go with, and somehow you wish it was a 27-inch in there. I would possibly hold off to the next version and hope that Arcade1Up and Zen Studio upgrade the PCB to handle 1080p at 60 frames per second, improve on the visual aspects, and they'll need to add Wi-Fi to allow leaderboards and expandability. And if this means sacrificing the accelerometers and haptic feedback to bring it back to the price point, it's a compromise I'm willing to take. That's all for this review video. Hope you enjoyed it and found the information useful. If you do, make sure you hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to support the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
We gotta save the Statue